I wonder if we talk for a minute about from a news gathering perspective. I mean, how would do you have tips, do you have suggestions for using social media to find out about people who, perhaps they're involved in a big story that you're covering? I'm presuming that most people in the room are students, so maybe it's on campus, maybe it's somebody who, I don't know, hijacked a campus bus or something, and you want to find out as much about them as possible. Where do you go to look first, and how do you, what are maybe some tricks?
I would probably simultaneously run a Google search and a Twitter search at the same time. If we know their name, Google the name, of course. If we don't, then maybe just put in a few search terms that have to do with the event itself, and see if you can come up with something. And if you're already following, the people you should be following in your community, then it's probably going to pop up in your feed anyway, something about it. I remember there was something that happened in Tuscaloosa a week or two ago. Some building had to be evacuated or something. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know, but. And I heard about it through Twitter, and I was like, what's going on? Is this a big deal? Found out it wasn't a big deal. It was just some sort of routine sort of thing. But sometimes that's also the danger. Sometimes things look bigger at first than it really is. I think yesterday there were some real bad storms going through Florida. And in Lakeland, the airport, they were having some sort of air show. There were a bunch of tents set up, and some collapsed. And initially CNN was reporting that people were like dead and stuff. But they weren't. Everything was fine. It was just all damage. So, you have to kind of like, you get that news instinct, and you're like, oh God, we got to get on this. Well, take a minute to breathe and see what the story actually is all about, too.
I just have a comment. The other day, I was in my office, and the paramedics were walking down the hallway, and so we were trying to figure out what happened and who it happened to. And Marcus was in my office, and the first thing he said to me was, Professor Downey, go look at your Twitter feed and see what happened. Because that's pretty much how we find out
Yeah.
what's going on.
I don't really know of anything faster than Twitter right now. I think we first found out its power went on the Hudson River plane landing crash, whatever you want to call it. A guy did a twit pic from one of the ferry boats close by, and that was over 2 years ago. And that was when Twitter was just first sort of jumping the shark, I guess. That was around the same time that I was setting up Twitter for Everyone at NBC 13 here in town. And I think that was sort of a wake-up call to a lot of journalists back then. But it's been sort of a steady momentum since then. I think there's like 5 times the amount of Twitter users as there were 2 years ago or something like that. So.
Yeah, I will say, in regard to news gathering via social media, you need to be careful as well and think about what you actually know.
Right.
Because we've had instances come up where a former University of Alabama football player supposedly, from his Twitter account, posted pictures from a cockfight. Well, I mean, do we know that was actually him? Do we know it was actually there?
Yeah,
Probably.
Someone could have picked up his phone or
in all likelihood,
hacked into their
yes.
account, that sort of thing.
If we pick up a story and use that as our sourcing and run with it, then we could end up potentially with a lot of egg on our face if it turns out something was not like we thought it was. Or when the Auburn tree poisoning story broke and there were Facebook pictures circulating of a suspect holding an infant child with an Alabama hat on. Well, he has the same name as that person, yes, and he's from the same general location, but do we know that's the same person? At that point, we didn't, and some organizations ran with the photo anyway. So.
Yeah. Twitter is not a verification tool. It's definitely a fact gathering and investigative tool, but until you can make that call or get that email that says, yes, this is what happened, or yes, that's him, then you don't really know for sure. So while social media is super instant and a wonderful tool for finding out the news, even CNN gets it wrong. Even the New York Times gets it wrong sometimes. So
You shouldn't get it wrong.
Question. I
I do help with social media for like small business. And they wanted, I know a lot of people don't like to do this, the automated Twitter response where when somebody starts following you, you know, have the automated response.
Yeah, the auto DMs, I usually unfollow those people right away.
Yeah, see, exactly, but this is what they want to do, and even though I was like, I don't know if it's a very good idea. How do you go about setting that up? Because I was trying to find like certain.
Honestly, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a good practice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would just Google it, you know.
There's a program called Hootsuite.
Hootsuite does DMs? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's that one, and there's another one. It does a bunch of different things. You can set it to auto-tweet for you, and you can also synchronize your RS feeds, your Facebook pages, your Twitter pages all in one window, so that way you don't have to operate between many windows. It just makes it a lot easier.
You guys want to see my Hootsuite?
And I have seen, like, there's a
This
public radio
is their
report.
April Fool's joke. Happy owls.
It's like Angry Birds.
This is my Hootsuite dashboard. Every single one of those little icons up at the top is an account. Either Facebook, Twitter, and I think I have one Foursquare account on there.
So you think that's better than TweetDeck then? Which you mentioned more?
Well, see, the thing is, Hootsuite beyond 5 accounts goes paid. However, I believe for one person, it's only like $6 a month.
Okay.
So for this, I have 4 other team members with me, and it gets exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
But it's worth investing in as a news organization. I use Hootsuite all the time to schedule tweets ahead of time. For instance, we have a page called Gulf Coast Vacations that's all mostly just travel and entertainment content. Well, I mean, I can schedule that ahead of time because it's not breaking news, you know. So I set it up until next Monday. And I can kind of walk away and just check in now and then and see if people are liking or engaging, that sort of thing. I mean, then you can look at analytics too. That's another great thing about Hootsuite. Let's see. Sorry, my mouse is not good. Let's get rid of that. This is, you can create all these different reports. You can look at different accounts and see how they're all doing. Just a quick analytics. Look at the Facebook Insights. Here's the AL.com account, and it pulls up all your Facebook analytics. It's pretty cool. We've got mostly green arrows, which is good. But we're down on daily post views, which kind of makes me mad. But we're up on likes. We've been steadily gaining. We've got about 10,000 fans. If it were up to me, we would combine all of our newspaper accounts and AL.com all into one big massive presence so that everyone would, so that it would get a lot more traction. You know, be wary of splintering off. You know, if you are involved with another news organization, be aware of splintering it off. You know, bring it all together if you can. And then you can see Google Analytics from here, individual. The Owly, if you're on Facebook and see something from Hootsuite with the Owly link, what that is, it's kind of like Bitly. You can sign up and actually track, you know, and see who's clicking on your links and how much. So anyway, so it's a lot of fun to play around with and all that. But what I'm mostly concerned with usually is actually getting it done. So, you know, another thing I caution you is to not get over excited and over eager about all of this and start a bunch of Facebook pages or start a bunch of Twitter accounts and then no one's there to run them. You know, I do advocate, you know, I don't really like feeds that much. It works in some cases, like very specialized content. For instance, we have an Auburn football Twitter account and an Alabama football Twitter account that just run off that category from our website because people just want to read all of it. And it's mostly people just retweeting. They're not really like talking to you a whole lot. But on your main entity news organization accounts, I do recommend that you get a social team and work together to actually engage with people and make sure you're not getting ranted and raved at through Twitter or Facebook and that sort of thing.
And I will say, that's another advantage to having the individual writers set up their accounts, because we have 2 Auburn beat writers, and those 2 guys, their individual Twitter accounts are at least 10 times more popular than
Yes.
the one that's just an RSS feed running from our site, even though largely they're pulling the same content, they're linking to the same stories. But, you know, the ones with the beat writers, they'll add to it. It's more than just a Twitter feed.
Right,
So-
and people are way more interesting than, than a feed of content from a website. I mean, I'd rather get to know another journalist than, follow the main. I'd rather get to know Jake Tappert, who has a great Twitter account, than follow ABC News Washington, that sort of thing. So what else? What else would y'all like to see? Smartphones, if you guys don't already have them as a news organization, then petition your managers, petition someone to get those for your news organization. The Huntsville Times recently got all Android phones. So they're really excited about, finding some new apps and things to use with their social media. I was at NBC 13 for 2 years running their website. And during that time, all the reporters had were Razor phones, I think, which had been around for like 10 years now or something. And they were all really excited about, starting to get on Twitter and Facebook and that sort of thing, but they were continually facing problems from out in the field of using their work phone for that. They couldn't, unless they set up Twitter through text, they couldn't do it. So a lot of them started using their personal phones to do it, but the station wasn't cool with that. They didn't want them using their personal phones for work. So a lot of them kind of had their hands tied, and so depending on your organization's stance on that, obviously if you're in college, you can probably just use your personal phone for all that, but at a professional level, try to petition for more. Social media, there's this perception that everything is free, that Facebook is free, Twitter is free, all these apps are free. So why should we invest anything more into it when it's all free? Well, having analytics, having, a platform like Hootsuite or TweetDeck or Seismic or whatever, sometimes it gets to a level where you need to be paying some money to see what's working and what's not. And, sometimes, it's worth, your organization's money to get everyone equipped with what they need. Otherwise, you're going to eventually just get left behind.